Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Startup World 2023 Summer Conference. It is the premier global startup conference dedicated to helping innovative and disruptive startups succeed. It is the perfect platform for startup founders to pitch their ideas, gain valuable insights, and connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs, industry experts, potential investors, and partners learning from the best in business. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Biren Gandhi, who is the founder and CEO of Speak to IoT, and he will be talking about Talk to Transformation, Voice AI for Entreprise Excellence. So thank you very much, and I hand over to you.
Thanks, James. Thanks a lot for having me on the conference here. I'm pretty excited, mainly because of the subject on both the sides. One is all the talking to the transformation, obviously, that we are all experiencing with ChatGPT, generative AI, and other things that we are seeing in the world today. And the second part, obviously, on the enterprise side, because even though I'm coming from a startup world, the enterprise side is, in the long run, that's where startups are willing to sell to, or are finding their stickiness and make money eventually together. So pretty excited for the topic. And as with any other topic, we can start with why. A little bit of my background. Obviously, I was fortunate to be part of some big category creators here in the Silicon Valley in my past life. So worked on the Facebook's whole social networking phenomenon, and glad to see the Threads app more recently, but worked with Facebook in the early days, 15 years back, then moved on to the social gaming transformation, another category. Like, people were playing games, but again, they were solo, individually playing games. Like, networked games was a different concept back then. And then during my Cisco's life, I was taking care of not just the IoT, Internet of Things, but also commercial drones, enterprise, entrepreneurship, internal innovation, and few other topics as well. So I'm humbled and fortunate to be part of this whole many different category creators here in Silicon Valley, and join the various teams, talented teams as part of that. The enterprise excellence is a very key, near and dear subject, as we spoke earlier, and understanding the why is very crucial for any topic. So let's quickly go through what the why part is. How can any company, any startup, any enterprise succeed in this market? I mean, it's tough. The whole ecosystem for enterprise sales and the collaboration is tough. Achieving excellence is obviously even tougher, but there are three main ingredients for any startup to succeed in this environment, in this challenging environment. They need to have at least one of the three attributes. First one is any technology that must be able to enable the monetization or the top line for the enterprise. Otherwise, okay, what's the point, right, of bringing anything new unless you're able to make more money for your customers, partners, and all of the stakeholders, including shareholders? There is no point. So one part is it has to trigger some form of new monetizations with new business models, services, and whatnot. If not, another alternative is it has to bring up the productivity or save the bottom line, the cost. It has to kind of bring in some sort of innovation for transformation, for getting more things done at the same cost or at a lower cost, more efficiently, right? So it's more of a bottom line engineering. How can you kind of squeeze the same budget to deliver more for your customers and partners? So it has to either bump up the top line monetization side, or bump up the productivity on the bottom line side. If not, then it has to touch upon the experience, the habit formation for people, making them do things differently in a new, innovative ways, and capturing that aha moment, whatever they feel like, right? So experts say that having one of these three attributes is absolute must for any success in enterprise world. And if you have more than one element, let's say two elements, then it's a guaranteed success. The technology that I'm going to talk to about today, Voice AI, it has all the three elements at the same time. It can not only change the top line, affect the bottom line, and it can also fundamentally transform the end user and stakeholder experience, because that's where we see like voice is the new touch. We are habituated, we are kind of trying to use all the touch-based interfaces, whether it's a mouse or keyboard, or even mobile devices more recently, the tablets and all whatnot. All of those things are all touch-based interfaces, and that's how we have been tuned and trained over the years, over decades. Now is the time to get rid of or augment those touch-based devices with voice-based technologies. Why? There are three reasons. One is voice AI is inherently more efficient, both physically and cognitively. Physical in the sense like average user can type about 50 to 100 words per minute. Thumb typing on mobile devices even less, right? I mean, even though no matter how hard you try or however pro you are, but still you cannot go beyond the barrier of like 75 to 100 words per minute. While voice allows you to speak almost like 200 words per minute. And if you have systems that can capture that high fire hose of inputs, it's like double the rate or quadruple the rate of the normal things. So you can actually ingest more data with voice than with typing. So that's the physical efficiency part. And physical touch-based devices requires two cognitive senses to engage. You have to use your fingers or hands and eyes. So hand-eye coordination is a must. Versus voice, you can just look at something and keep on talking to some other system. So it's just like one cognitive sense. So cognitively also it's 100% gain. It's efficient in both ways. Second part is it's intuitive. There is no how or a perfect or ideal way or required constrained way of doing things. All you need to know is the intent. In non-voice systems, you have to know not only how, you have to know what as well, how to do it or what to do it. You have to know both elements in order to make anything happen. That, hey, I have to click here, go there, touch this, expand this, zoom down in like a third level menu item and all sort of things. And you have to train people and train users whenever you change the user interface as well. In voice system, there is no how part. It's only what part, the intentions that matter. As long as you are providing the right information to the system, boom, doesn't matter. And that's where we have experiencing chat GPT like systems, all the generative AI and the power of that, that as long as you feed the right data, system can actually take over and inform you in many more fold, more informative, more authoritative manner based on the input. As long as you're providing sufficient inputs, no matter how grammatically incorrect it is, how personalized it is, maybe with typos and all if you're typing, but as long as you're providing right inputs, these systems can take over. So it's very intuitive to operate in nature. And the third part, it's very effective as well. We have seen the life-saving characteristics of voice systems, like when people are driving, especially teenagers, they keep on texting and also text and drive, they don't go together. And many more deaths are being reported, more than cancer or heart attack as well, with those the texting and driving accidents lately. So it's a lifesaver in a way. And we have seen during the COVID timeframe as well, all the pandemic, like more you touch things, especially in public places, more you have chances of infection. It's a common sense. So avoiding touch is a lifesaver in that sense. It's not only lifesaver, it's a money saver also from that angle. How? Because voice-based interfaces, they are not visual most of the time. So you don't have to go through the overhead of training and updating. Whenever you change something, doesn't matter. It just changes on the back-end side. It does not change its appeal on the front-end side. Front-end, it's still the natural human voice as the interface. So it's operationally saves big money in not only building and deploying systems, but also managing, operating, updating the systems as well, especially in the enterprise setup. Going into the details, right? Like, how do you actually come up with areas? And over the years of our startup's existence, we are kind of attacking different areas. When it comes to voice AI, people obviously think that, hey, it's like smart home and all the individual consumers' devices and all those things. But we as a startup, as Speak to IoT, we are focused primarily on the enterprise use cases, which are like hidden in plain sight right now. And these like 8 topics we are going to touch upon briefly on each of them to see like where they stand and how we can leverage opportunities in all of them for enterprise excellence to the topic of today. So whether it's a smart devices or real-time location, industrial automation, financial services, automobile, other general purpose services, family related things. Again, even though it's families, it's not in the consumer domain, but in the enterprise domain. How can you build a business around that? And building management and other smart, intelligent buildings and workspaces and all those systems. So there are plenty of opportunities. Obviously, they are not like a free. They come with associated challenges as well. But collectively, we can address those challenges and leverage the opportunity for every single one of the domain. So starting with the first one, right? The smart enterprises, like we have heard smart home and smart office and all that. But smart enterprises are very big from the voice AI perspective. And usually what happens in the smart home and that category, everyone comes up with like, okay, it's a mobile app. You can control this lights, that fan, that switch using your mobile app. That's the most common understanding. But when you're deploying thousands and hundreds and maybe sometimes tens of thousands of such devices in enterprise setup, you need more intelligent operations in a bulk basis. You have to worry about employees joining, employees leaving, who has access, who doesn't have access. So all the bulk operations and the role-based access control, they're absolutely must in enterprise setup, which may be an overkill in the individual consumer setup. Like if I'm in my home, doesn't matter. Like as long as I'm able to share with my family members, that's fine. But when I'm working as part of a 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 people office, then how do you access those smart devices? Who can access, who cannot? Those are pretty interesting challenges. And every single enterprise software has been dealing with it. And voice AI backend is no exception to that. Also, it has to have this high-end security inbuilt, enterprise-grade security, because of this increased hacking incidents that we are seeing. So if systems are being hacked for software only, then yes, it's a different story, versus if systems are being hacked for affecting the hardware devices, it's a whole new level. Without your knowledge, if your lights keep on turning on and off, you feel like, oh man, it's a ghost town, right? And people might get scared as well as a result. And the fourth part is the API integrations. Enterprise systems are never like one-stop shop. It's always a hodgepodge of many different subsystems underneath. So the real power of voice AI is actually without changing without changing the end user interface, with a single unified voice-based, natural voice-based interface, you can actually underneath work with many different subsystems, whether it's all the industrial, the machinery, the operations, other subsystems. Like end user did not realize the segmentation and all this hodgepodge mix of the subsystems underneath. So that itself is a pretty big positive opportunity with respect to the smart enterprises. The second most common use case that we see is the real-time location services, all the various kinds of RTLS systems, both within enterprises as well as all the GPS-based and cellular-based services outside of enterprises as well. But some of the key use cases that we are seeing again and again as in terms of opportunities are tracking properties or parts. Now, properties or parts, it can be small. You can attach a Bluetooth-like enterprise compatible version of AirTag to something, or it could be at the bulk level, the entire pallet level or container level. So many different tracking granularities, they exist in the field today for finding the real-time location of valuable assets or parts. So that's a very common use case. But other common use case we discovered, and it's very, very prominent these days as well, is people and presence during COVID, especially. And as people are starting to come physically to work, many more enterprise leaders, they're trying to find out like, okay, what is the occupancy of my office at any given point in time, conference room utilizations, the real estate maximizations they are trying to achieve. If people are not coming, or if it's a hybrid model, then there's no point in investing in the heavy real estate. They can cut down on the real estate costs. So how many people, where they are present, how they are hanging around within the campus, those are very crucial details and powerful use cases for this real-time location in enterprises. And after that, it's like automation of any kind. So with location, you can do automation, and we are going to see, just touch upon this three on the right-hand side on your screen. three domains where these three use cases are very, very prominent. So hospital and hospitality, for example. So how can you achieve? So these places are more of I call it as a temporary stay places. Your home, when you're putting and equipping your home with all the smart home intelligent devices, they're going to last for longer time. You're expected to stay in your home forever in a way, more or less, but over a long period of time versus hospital or hospitality. Those places you stay there overnight many times, but it's typically a short stay. You stay there for a couple of days or a week or something like that. So now, if you want to put smart devices or any smart intelligent process in those places, you have to be extra careful because I hate downloading every single place I go, like their custom mobile app to do things, to operate intelligent things in their setup. No, I don't like it. If I'm staying only for a couple of days, why would I bother to not only download that mobile app, learn the behavior of that mobile app, like visually, okay, how to do, what to do, how can I open the curtain, how can I turn on the brightness and change the dimming of the light. I mean, it should be much more intuitive to me, especially in a temporary space. So that's where this hospital and hospitality use cases are coming up in terms of the real-time location or controlling the devices. Real-time location, like finding wheelchairs, finding defibrillators, finding insulin pump. So those are high-value assets and on wheels. And in this setup, they tend to get lost, right? So how can you find those things? In the same thing in industrial, like forklifts and other high-value assets on wheels in the shared access. People are using them, they're leaving them somewhere, and you need to find location, like, hey, where is this asset right now? People are constantly working, so their hands are occupied, their other senses are occupied. So if it's voice-based interface to find those assets, it becomes really handy, becomes extremely useful. Not only useful, it becomes safe also in certain environments. And same thing goes for government technologies or educational technologies, where valuable assets, they tend to get misplaced. So finding the asset location within campus, within enterprises, it's a very powerful use case. And we have partnered with enterprise service providers, wireless service providers like Cisco and Meraki and Juniper in order to leverage those solutions. And they are working out pretty well. Next use case is obviously the industrial IoT. Everybody talks about Industry 4.0 and other things, but things are kind of moving at its own pace, as we know. It's not a great pace that you would like to see transformation, innovation actually being implemented. It's happening, but in bits and pieces. So how can voice AI accelerate the transformation? So whether it's the plant floor, as I was saying earlier, like people are like fully engrossed into the primary work. If you can help them in any way, whether it's looking up the manuals or processes or finding out details about why this equipment is behaving in such a way it's behaving. So we have done some proof of concepts for plant floor where people can find out the details of why this boiler is like showing this red light here, or what should I do in order to fix the problem, or what if I don't fix the problem, how bad could it be, right? All sort of things. If I have to pre-order the parts, what is the lead time? How much do I need to wait? What is the installation? So everything you can actually do, schedule over voice AI while you're still working primarily on the job. Same thing as a sideline, it goes on the inventory management, the parts and inventory, your own inventory or your supplier's inventory if you're hooked into them. So simply asking that, hey, can I get this part from your own local dispatch or from your supplier? And what's the lead time? What is the installation? What's the cost? How much is the stock? When can it arrive? What's the shipping charges? All sort of things you can find out by deeply integrating into the ERP solutions. And all of those could be hands-free, just like no bars. And people can speak anyway, like, and no intelligence level required as well. So you can have people from all walks of life, no age barriers also. Like people can come from any background and any age groups. They can utilize this voice-based interfaces, unlike other touch-based technologies where only like certain group, certain age group, certain demographics is much more comfortable. Certain demographics is not so comfortable with all the proliferation of the mobile and complex dashboards and all those things. So very handy in the industrial IoT space. The voice is a definite winner. Not only that, the financial apps. Lately, we've been working on deeply integrating all the financial apps, the back end, and providing voice AI services on top of it, like voice interface for the financial apps. So whether it's Tally in India, or whether it's Intuit and other things here in the US, you can have a daily brief sort of things that, hey, top of mind, especially for CXOs and higher order people. They are always at the mercy of the IT staff that, hey, give me access to this report and send me a daily email about this summary. So they always have to keep on asking for information. Voice AI makes them independent. They can just pull in the information whenever, wherever they want. While driving also, they can just get updated on like, hey, give me my daily brief, or give me some sales projections for this month, coming month, or compare them to the last month. How am I doing? Are we on track? Are we not on track? Which region, which area is doing better? Which products are doing better? Which products are doing worse? All those things. What is the potential tax impact? Do I need to do like some tax donations in order to make up for saving the tax and things like that, right? So all those financial decisions you can make on the go in a very intuitive fashion without being locked down, without being constrained by what all the IT interfaces or what all dashboards or what all mobile apps that are available in your environment. And even if backend changes, doesn't matter. The voice can still work with some different backend. So it becomes independent of the backend. It reduces that dependency also, the lockup that one might have. Next domain is also another very rare domain. People don't realize, like automobile and services, even though in-car audio, the voice-based systems have been more popular lately, their quality is also improving. The earlier voice interfaces were really horrible, and they failed to understand different accents across the world. But now things are improving, but still it is very limited, self-contained system of the car. But what about if we have a car plus home plus office, all more of an integrated environment where you can make the queries from the car about your home, or from your home about your car? That, like, for example, the EVs are pretty intelligent these days. So any electric vehicle, if it's parked somewhere, you can check, like, do I have enough juice, enough battery power to go drop off my son or daughter at a soccer game, which is like 15 kilometers away. You can get a voice response saying like, yeah, you have 40% of the battery, which can take you XYZ kilometers, but it's better if you charge it tonight because the traffic route gets busy during the hours that you are planning to have a trip, right? So that intelligent response is much more valuable than simply seeing a number that, hey, it's 40% charge on my battery. So very, very nice use cases, very seamless lifestyle related use cases can emerge out of that. And we can enable them from the backend side. Call center IVRs have been adopting voice, non-human voice. Previously, it was all machine generated voice, but now it's intelligent voice is coming into picture. So obviously the human dependency is being reduced, the costs are being reduced, and the end users are becoming more and more satisfied that, hey, I'm dealing with a system which is much more intelligent than before. It can understand me better. It can get the job done. So at least 90+% of L1 cases can be handled by these call centers or IVRs or any other intelligent assistant devices. Not only that, you can do sales and service, product recommendations, or even your supply chain. I mean, there was a huge automobile crisis lately across the world because after post-pandemic from the parts. So you can intelligently query those things and manage your supply chain better using voice AI than without that. From a family front as well, same thing goes, like more and more seniors are living alone, living away from the extended families, from their sons and daughters, because of how the whole urbanization has been happening around the world. So people are retiring, they prefer to live in that ancestral places, while their young generation needs to work in the big cities away from them. So how can they keep a tab on seniors living alone? So there are a lot of smart devices, but again, a difference between consumer world and enterprise world is enterprise first thinking on those consumer devices can enable many, many different use cases at bulk. They can do partnerships with nursing homes, with local hospitals, so that all the seniors living in certain communities, certain areas, they can be benefited by those partnerships. All this digital learning options for families you can have rich content, again, pulled by various forms of voice AI systems. We had done a proof of concept some time back for Cisco's Network Academy for learning. So instead of going to the boring tutorial or just one-way video, you can have an interactive learning session when you are asking questions, getting clarifications, and intelligent system, voice AI system behind the scenes is constantly monitoring your progress and kind of feeding you the right data set. And you can have more interactive learning using those, whether it's, again, home networks also, or set-top boxes, Wi-Fi devices, modems. They can also be intelligently configured. Like, my Wi-Fi is bad. Like, what do I do? Help me troubleshoot. And that intelligent back and forth troubleshooting is much more beneficial than web page clicking. In fact, yesterday my home internet went down. And when I went to the website from the cellular connection, they say, like, they were all throwing all marketing promos with the new products and all, where I had to actually dig through 5 levels of clicking to find out how can I troubleshoot my particular fiber modem at home so that I can have restored connectivity. It's not intuitive. Imagine if that was simply possible using my mobile app, using some voice interface that, hey, my internet is down, and boom, can you help me solve? And run some backend test. They say, hey, this is wrong. Okay, how can I fix that? So that experience is much more better. And same thing goes for digital entertainment as well. A lot of remotes are providing the voice-based searches, but those are like solo solutions, consumer-centric. The problem needs to be thought out at an enterprise scale and enterprise level to be really effective in solution. And the last part is about this whole building management solutions. The intelligent building management systems, BMSs, have been around for many, many decades now, but most of them are still archaic in terms of control. Many of them are just on-prem and all that. So we are working with few companies like Panasonic to kind of make their building management systems way more intelligent and current age and voice AI capable. So you can not only find out the details from the sensors, like what is happening, but you can also actuate as well some of the controls remotely using voice, assuming you have the appropriate authorization, of course. And you can actually participate in more closely in the energy management functions of the facility. Sometimes, like, the facility management is like just a silo, and people don't like to get in other people. But voice AI kind of democratizes those things. So some functions can be available to stakeholders, some functions can be available to the executive management teams, and some functions could be available even to visitors to your offices. Right? If cooling is not appropriate, somebody's freezing, then okay, hey, reduce the cooling. Or if it's quite hot outside, increase the cooling, and so on and so forth. So it provides operational efficiency while ensuring this whole green revolution support on the sustainability and the energy management side. In the end, I mean, it's all about delightful experience. How can you deliver a delightful human experience? All transformation, digital transformation, is about providing that delightful experience. And that is what we strive to do as part of Speak to IoT team as well. Focus on the enterprise areas where things matter, where you can push this digital transformative experience. And how do we achieve? I mean, there are some like common sense. So end user interaction is in terms of voice. Input is voice, output could be voice or video or image, depending on the form factor, like whatever the form factor is. But it could be any form factor suitable. Bottom line, it's voice at least, wherever you are providing the input. It can go through any other popular voice assistants today, which are supported, like Alexa or Google or Samsung or Microsoft used to be there, or you can bring your own, and they have smart speakers or corresponding mobile apps as well. So it doesn't matter which one, which form factor end user uses to interact with those systems. But ultimately, like our Speak to IoT cloud-based infrastructure takes care of all those input sources and connects them to the variety of the output sources wherever it makes sense. So output source could be a bunch of IoT devices from a vendor or from collection of vendors. So how we connect to them, we need to have some sort of firmware support and some cloud operation support in order to establish the connectivity and control on that. Or the backend system could be some cloud-based SaaS solutions or some other APIs or solutions or workflows in the enterprises. More and more enterprises are using those things. So how can we connect to them? It could be cloud-to-cloud API support, and boom, we can have voice connectivity to any and all of those workflows and enterprise systems. Or in some cases, I mean, still you're running old systems for industrial or for financial management, like completely on-prem. If you're running your own data centers or in your own physical location, so we can connect with any kind of either software or hardware connector, which can bring it to the cloud and provide the right API to support. So, but any which way, the whole goal is to deliver this compelling, the customer delight, deliver the customer delight on the voice AI capabilities, voice AI experiences in the enterprises. And how do we do that is taking care, providing the whole stack of solutions as part of our cloud and firmware and native offerings. And some of those elements are like obvious, but many people still ask the question, hey, how is it different than Alexa? Alexa is the front end part. The crux is in the middle. That's always the bigger part. So whether you are providing all the natural language processing, the understanding of the speech to text part, like what makes a difference, like how to make sense from the incoming text. So that is the engine we provide, our role-based access control, as we saw earlier, which is crucial in enterprise world. That also we are providing security or context management for threaded conversational AI. I mean, making the devices turn on and off without any context. Yes, that's one basic use case. But if the whole context is carried that, hey, do this, bring out this report from the last year. And when I say, how does it compare to this year? How does it compare to this year? It has the inherent context that I'm talking about the previous report that I just mentioned. So carrying forward that whole context is absolutely crucial in providing the powerful conversational AI. The rules automation and alerts and other systems that those are, or billing integration with a variety of systems in the enterprise side, all those are necessary requirements. And these are one of the few things why enterprises are not adopting voice AI to the necessary extent. But we are there to make a difference. And Speak to IoT is committed to connecting everything through voice. And we are kind of building components, providing solutions, working with collaborations and partners to make this happen. So I would like to thank you here for the opportunity. Hope everyone got a glimpse of how we can achieve enterprise excellence using voice AI. We would be happy to get feedback, inputs, business networking requests, collaboration, anything, everything. Feel free to touch base and connect. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Biren. This is quite an amazing idea. And I'd like to discuss this at length. Unfortunately, not that much time, but just one simple thing. Can you do everything through voice that normally you would do with a computer, using algorithms and special technologies and this and that? Do you have to then, if you can say everything through ChatGPT, do you then need to train very much to make sure you're saying the right thing and asking the right question? Or is there also training for ChatGPT to get used to and ready for a situation like a whole engineering system where you supposedly have to learn about the whole thing before you can even start asking questions? So how does that work?
Yeah, so voice is much more simpler than ChatGPT in a way. So ChatGPT is the whole kind of ChatGPT and all the generative AI. Those are like a training, and you have to spend a lot of resources and a lot of data set before you can have meaningful things. The voice AI that we saw is actually the human-machine interface, the first touch point, how users are interacting with such system. And that backend system could be anything. Today, we are interacting with touch-based devices. We are typing in, even in ChatGPT online, we are typing in our queries. Instead of typing in, we could be actually saying our queries, speaking our queries, and same backend ChatGPT system could provide the answers. So voice is much more simplified in the sense that it offers as a front end between human and machine interface. So in accepting questions and generating answers, relevant answers. Backend could be anything. It could be ChatGPT, it could be Salesforce, it could be any other ERP systems, anything, doesn't matter really. Or it could be Microsoft Office or Google Calendar, whatever it is. It can be any system behind the scenes, as long as that system has some sort of API, which our systems can consume, we can offer and expose the voice AI front end for consumer delight.
In other words, if the consumer doesn't know quite what to say, your system can say it.
Yeah, you can say, how do I use the system? I don't know. So system can give some, hey, here are some of the ways, some of the inputs you can provide. And then user provides that input similar to what we are seeing in Siri and other things like, hey, what's the weather? Book me a flight. All those sort of things you can do with the backend magic. So yes, the work is on the bulk of the work is on the backend, but as long as the backend systems provide some API integrations, then things will work. We had done a prototype on the climate change, especially the carbon consumption, that I'm asking a system to book, hey, book me a flight from Los Angeles to New York. Then I can ask that, hey, how much carbon, by the way, it's consuming? Am I actually impacting the planet in a positive way or in a negative way? What are the alternatives? So with voice systems, you can actually pull the data from variety, like not only the booking for the flight, but also from the climate change, from the carbon API consumptions. You can find the alternatives also that, hey, by going car, does it make sense? Or only flying makes sense? How much petrol or gas you're going to use if you're driving down that route, right? So you can, behind the scene, without like end user knowing what all subsystems, you can be actually talking to 10 different subsystems for pulling all that data together. But to the end user, it's a unified natural voice interface where user is getting all the information in one conversational session. So that's the power of voice AI.
For example, let's say you're at home and you lose electricity. The lights go off, everything goes off, and you ask by voice, please solve the problem. And what if it has nothing to do with your home? There's something that happened in the neighborhood or somewhere else. How will the system actually help you find out?
Well, in some cases, like today, what we do in that happens, right? Sometimes like phone lines are working. Sometimes phone lines are also down. Phone lines are working today. We call the customer support number of that utility saying like, hey, what's happening? My electricity is out. What's happening? So sometimes there is an outage limited to your own house, or sometimes it's an area level outage. So how do you solve that problem? So instead of talking to some human and waiting in line for like half an hour, listening to that horrible music that you are in queue, instead of that, a backend voice AI powered system could give you the answer right away that, hey, your area is experiencing an outage. We are expecting to solve the problem in next 3 hours. Please stand by with that. And we don't have information. If you have information, we'll keep you posted. And that's it. I mean, as a consumer, I got whatever I was looking for. Without holding on the queue for a human operator to give me the exact same response, pretty much, right? So that's where it's a big differentiator. And on the company side, it will save tremendous cost. Instead of hiring like 10 or 100 or 1,000 people, they can deploy this assistance, and boom, it gets done, gets the job done.
Mainly incredible. Well, I want to thank you very much for this terrific presentation. Would love to continue the conversation. It looks like there's huge potential, and let's see where it goes. And I want to thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to continuing our conversation.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.